We're counting down to Super Tuesday this morning, but first want to talk about the coronavirus. Mexico just reported its first 2 cases of it. There are no confirmed cases of coronavirus in Texas outside that quarantine at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio. Governor Abbott says that state agencies here started preparing more than a month ago.
We have an extremely robust, well-informed, activated force prepared for any potential outcome that we may have to deal with.
So now let's go to a Texas doctor in Congress. Representative Michael Burgess is a Republican who represents Denton County in North Texas. He joins us from the Capitol this morning, and in studio with me as always is Bud Kennedy from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Bud, welcome to you, and Congressman, good to see you as well too.
Congressman.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
You're the most senior doctor in Congress. How concerned should I be right now about this coronavirus and all the news that's happened in the past few days?
Jason, again, thanks for having me on. It has been my contention for over a month that this is a serious situation that we all need to take seriously. It is not something that you can ignore, and certainly not going to help to be dismissive. Now, I was very encouraged when, at the end of January, the administration did listen when I spoke up and said, I really think we need to restrict some of the travel between mainland China and this country, and they did. The next day, Secretary Azar came on television and announced a rather historic quarantine and the cessation of all flights to and from mainland China to the United States. That was a big step. It's kind of a bold step. Some people said, are you doing too much? Well, you know, if you are, you can always come back and loosen things up a little bit. It turns out that was a good idea. It has given us an additional 4 weeks where our case rate is low to be able to prepare and respond to this. Well, I will say this morning, or Friday morning, I had a briefing with all of the public health individuals, and we've sort of moved from a situation of containment to containment plus mitigation, and that's the situation this morning.
Well, let's talk about the public health folks for a moment. The president's budget for next year cuts the CDC's budget by 16%. Now, you know, he has proposed cutting public health before. Congress has overridden that. Do you expect that's going to happen this time as well?
Well, look, the president's budget was prepared in December, well in advance of any knowledge of what was going to happen in China a month later. But realistically, when we're the United States House of Representatives, all spending bills originate with us. If we take the president's number and we say, we don't think that's right, we can do our hearings, we can gather our information and come up with a different number. In fact, I think we will. And I think you will see that happen next week. Unfortunately, it's not going through a normal budgetary process. It's not even going through hearings in the Energy and Commerce Committee. It will be a hearing in the Rules Committee. And fortunately for me, I sit there as well, so I'll get to hear the arguments pro and con. But a number will be determined, and I would expect the House will vote on that sometime next week.
Will it be an increase or a decrease?
I would suspect it will be an increase because, as you've seen, sort of every week as this story has evolved, and it has evolved. It's not the same story today that it was at the end of January. But as the story evolves, clearly there is more involvement, more people, more personnel, more testing, more equipment. And so when I mentioned containment plus mitigation, the situation this morning is very much we need to get testing facilities into the hands of our frontliners in our health departments across the country so that they're able to narrow the window of time where someone comes in and identifies themselves and say, I think I might have this, where they can be tested and either reassured that they're negative or found that they're positive and then contained or quarantined.
Congressman, you've talked about where we are now. Please talk about what's next. What are the things coming that the public may not be aware of? We're all just seeing this potential, we might get sick, but tell us as far as shortages of antibiotics, shortages of equipment, shortages of tests for testing. Tell us what the other ancillary problems are that will arise.
So there are constantly drugs in shortage. I think the shortage list is numbers in the 140s. That is not new. That has been the case for several years. There is apparently one product that has been added to the list that has occurred because of the interruption of the supply chain of the active pharmaceutical ingredient that comes from China. This is not a generic drug, it's a name brand drug. We weren't told which name it was, but we were also told there are other similar drugs in that classification which can be substituted. So right now, there's not a shortage that is directly affecting anyone. That can change. And of course, 13% of the pharmaceutical products and active pharmaceutical ingredients do come from mainland China. That will be felt in the months and weeks ahead. There are other places from which those supplies, including domestic supplies, and certainly those capacities need to be increased, and things like continuous round-the-clock manufacturing are some of the things that I'm hearing right now that are being discussed. But that will be part of the budget discussion next week, the funding discussion.
All right.
Food and Drug Administration, if it doesn't have adequate funding, they need to tell us, and we need to provide it.
Thank you, Congressman.
Congressman Michael Burgess, thanks for being in D.C. with us this morning. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.